Go ahead and invite the chime to sing, and then we'll set the intention for our practice today. Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha. And one of the things that we do that's fairly unique in Recovery Dharma and in our practice is we take some of the Buddhist concepts and philosophies and we spend a month, sometimes longer, studying them and exploring them. For the month of February, we have taken in a concept called Saddha. Saddha. It is loosely translated as faith. What I really like to think of it in terms of a Buddhist practice are words like trust and confidence. When we come from a place of saddha, trust and confidence and faith, we come from a place that is heart led. And that is how we can embody saddha. So, for your practice today, as a point of awareness, as a point of homecoming, make your heart that place of homecoming. So, should your mind wander and get a little twitchy through the course of our practice, should your body get a little uncomfortable, always bring your awareness back to the heart where you'll find a little bit of grounding, a little bit of centering. And maybe if you can, take a moment even right now as we're settling in to roll your shoulders up ever so slightly and back. That way you give your body, you embody that you're leading with the heart. Saddha, the cultivation of trust and confidence within you. And let's go ahead and breathe that in. I have confidence in me. For the month of February, we have also been exploring the Lotus Sutra. And I have been using as our basis of study a beautiful book written by Thich Nhat Hanh. This is called Peaceful Action, Open Heart. And it's his interpretation of the Lotus Sutra. And today I want to revisit a bodhisattva whose name is Sarabhariputta. And this particular bodhisattva, this particular individual, is such that their practice was devoted to alleviating suffering in other human beings. Whether you believe the whole mythology of bodhisattvas and what that all is, culturally speaking in Buddhism, isn't really particularly relevant. The concept is simply that there was a human being at one time who devoted their life to alleviating suffering in other human beings. This particular name, Sarabhariputta, means the non-despairing, the non-disparaging bodhisattva. And so this particular person was all about cultivating a deep sense of patience as their way of helping other people feel a sense of ease in whatever they were suffering, in whatever misery or discomfort they were experiencing. So today, for our heart-led practice, we're going to keep that in mind. We're going to keep the quality of patience in our mind's eye. And I'd like to read a little bit. There's a bit of a story that Thich Nhat Hanh has written that I really enjoy, and I'd like to share it with you as a way of highlighting this practice. So I encourage you to put the body into a posture that feels nice and easy. Maybe cuddle up with your furry friend if you have a Dharma companion that has a tail that wags, or a purring voice, or maybe a feathered friend that likes to sit on your shoulder, or Maybe you're one of those people that has a lizard or, God forbid, a snake. Oh my goodness. Or maybe you have an ant farm or something like that. Sit with your Dharma companions and bring them into the practice today as well. There was a Chinese teacher named Master Gushan who wrote, "We should not look down on ourselves. We should not see ourselves as worthless and always withdrawn into the background." Friends, take that into your heart. I think as human beings who have struggled with negative habit energy, we have all felt worthless. We have all felt helpless and hopeless. We have all felt like we were the worst person on earth at times. And just remember that just like me, somebody else feels that, maybe even feels that today in this meeting. So maybe if we can take that into our hearts and our minds, wow, would you look at that? Look at that feeling. And just wrap it in a little bit of tenderness. Thich Nhat Hanh writes, "These words are designed to wake us up." In modern society, psychotherapists report that many people suffer from low self-esteem. They feel that they are worthless and have nothing to offer, and many of them sink into depression and can no longer function well or take care of themselves or their families. Therapists, healers, caregivers, teachers, religious leaders, and those who are close to someone who suffers in this way all have the duty to help them see their true nature more clearly so that they can free themselves from the delusion that they are worthless. Let's just take a moment and put that into an image form. Let's say you are bearing witness to someone who is despairing. They're entertaining a story, a delusion that they are of no value. And of course, maybe on a very human and physical level, relative to fame and fortune, that might be true, but the truth of the matter is they are embodied consciousness since beginningless time, priceless, precious. And so as we're bearing witness, what they need is encouragement, presence, patience, love. Space to discover for themselves the conditions creating this particular story and delusion, the benefits that they may be gaining from harboring such a story. Sometimes on the journey of recovery, we feel bad. We don't know how to cope with that feeling, so we might as well feel worse. And so we use a substance or we engage in a behavior, a pattern of negative habit energy. That is operating from a delusion. And we can smile at it sometimes and go, wow, would you look at that? I am acting in a distorted way. Fascinating. If we know friends or family members who see themselves as worthless, powerless, and incapable of doing anything good or meaningful, And this negative self-image has taken away all their happiness. We have to try to help our friend or sister or brother, our parent, spouse, or partner remove this complex. This is the action of a bodhisattva. This is the action of never despairing bodhisattva, Sadaparibhuta. We also have to practice so as not to add to others' feelings of worthlessness. In our daily life, when we become impatient or irritated, we might say things that are harsh, judgmental, and critical, especially in regard to our children. When they are under a great deal of pressure, working very hard to support and care for their family, parents frequently make the mistake of uttering unkind, punitive, or blaming words in moments of stress or irritation. The ground of a child's consciousness is still very young, still very fresh. So when we sow such negative seeds in our children, we are destroying their capacity to be happy. So parents and teachers, siblings and friends all have to be very careful and practice mindfulness in order to avoid sowing negative seeds in the minds of children, family members, friends, and students. I always try to practice this kind of action. One day there were two brothers who came to spend the day with me. I took them both to show them a new manual printing press I had just gotten. The younger boy was very interested in the machine, and while he was playing with it, the motor burned out. As I was pressing one button to show the boy how it worked, the little boy pressed another at the same time, and it overstressed the machine's engine. The elder brother said angrily, "Tay, you just wanted to show us the machine. Why did he have to do that? He wrecks everything he touches." These were very harsh words from such a young boy. Perhaps he'd been influenced by hearing his parents or other family members use blaming language like this, so he was just repeating what he'd heard without realizing the effect on his little brother. In order to help mitigate the possible effects of this criticism on the younger boy, I showed the boys another machine, a paper cutting machine, and this time I instructed the younger one how to use it. His brother warned me, "Tay, don't let him touch it. He'll destroy this one too." Seeing that this was a moment when I could help both boys, I said to the older brother, "Don't worry, I have faith in him. He is intelligent. We shouldn't think otherwise." Then I said to the younger boy, "Here, this is how it works. Just push this button. Once you've released this button, then you press that button. Do this very carefully, and the machine will work properly." The younger brother followed my instructions and operated the machine without harming it. He was very happy, and so was the older brother. And I was happy right along with them. This is an example of an action of the Sadaparibhuta Bodhisattva. I needed only 3 or 4 minutes to remove the complex of the younger brother and teach the older one to learn to trust in the best of his younger brother and not see him just in terms of his mistakes. In truth, at that moment, I was a bit concerned that the young boy would ruin the other machine, but if I had hesitated and not allowed him to try and follow my instructions, believing that he would destroy the machine, I could well have destroyed that little boy. Preserving the health and well-being of the mind of a child is much more important than preserving a machine. The never despising, never despairing, never disparaging Bodhisattva shows everyone that they have the capacity for perfection within themselves, the capacity to become a Buddha, a fully enlightened one. The message of the Lotus Sutra is that everyone can and will become enlightened. Sadapaributta is the ambassador of the Buddha and the Lotus Sutra. And sometimes ambassadors are reviled and attacked. Sadapaributta was also treated this way. He brought his message to everyone, but not everyone was happy to hear it because they could not believe in their own Buddha nature. So when they heard his message, some felt like he was making fun of them. Others just felt angry. But the mission of a Dharma teacher, of a bodhisattva, requires a great deal of love, equanimity, inclusiveness, and patience. The number one practice and quality to cultivate, to bring forward this particular bodhisattva within each of us. He's already there. But to peel away those layers, to bring forward some of that inner light and inner wisdom, we have to cultivate patience. It's the number one quality. And the number one practice to work with patience is the practice of taking stock. And the taking stock practice is like an equanimity practice where we take stock of all of those moments in a single day where we've exercised wonderful patience. Take a look at it. Examine the conditions for it. Who was the person? What was the situation? How did you respond? What were your words? How did your body feel? Take credit for it. Be proud of yourself. Congratulate yourself. And at the same time, take stock of those moments in your day when you felt impatient. What were the conditions? Who were you with? What was happening? What were your words? How did it show up in your body? Taking stock of patience and impatience together is a sistering, wonderful way of looking at how your moments can come and go. 1 minute you're driving along in your car, singing a song, life is good, you're having very patient thoughts with your teenager, smacking their gum in the back seat. And then someone cuts you off in traffic, and before you know it, your mouth has just spewed out all kinds of obscenities. You feel gross and tight. Your teenager is smug and mocking. There it is. Look at it all. Breathing in that patience. Breathing in, I have the capacity for patience. Breathing out, I have the capacity for impatience. Taking stock of both brings forward my Buddha nature. Breathing in, I have the capacity for great patience. Breathing out, I have the capacity for impatience. Taking stock of both brings forward my Buddha nature. It's a beautiful meditation to remind us that the whole of ourselves is both, always both. And as we learn and understand both of these qualities and the conditions that activate them, we begin to apply wisdom, we begin to heal, we begin to awaken, and then we bring that to the presence of others for their healing, their support, their transformation. This, my friends, is the act of true love. This is being in the world, heart-led. Breathe that in. As you bring this practice into your day to day, into your afternoon or evening, maybe invite one bit of awareness when you encounter somebody impatiently, somebody who's acting like a barnyard, just somebody howling at windmills, crowing like a bird, oinking like a pig, whatever people do that just bug you and you feel really annoyed and irritated and impatient. So human. Just take a moment and remember this practice. Take a deep breath and just remind yourself, ooh, ooh, just like me. Just like me. And may I offer them patience. That person is acting out. I act out too. We are the same. And in my impatience toward them, may I bring forward patience, tolerance, space. What a way to bring peace into a world so desperate to have it. Let's go ahead and end our practice today with a dedication of merit. I have really enjoyed sharing with you Thich Nhat Hanh's wonderful, sweet little book called Moments of Mindfulness. And what I do is I just sort of flip through it and I land on one, and that's the one I read. And they're always so applicable. It's just wonderful. Like this one. So friends, let's just take a moment to recall that whenever we come into the presence of the three jewels of Buddhism, the Buddha, the person who has the capacity to be in deep touch and understanding with the causes and conditions of their own suffering and ways of alleviating it. That's a Buddha, and we all have that potential within each of us. The second jewel is the Dharma. These are the teachings of the Buddha. These are the ways that the practices that we can utilize as tools and instruments of peace that help us understand ourselves and accept ourselves with greater clarity and love. And then, of course, the third jewel is the Sangha, the community of wise friends who come together in practice and in understanding. And one of the things that I love about Sangha is there is a habit energy in many of us where we kind of look for, feel attached to finding people of, the quote is, of like mind. I think that's a boring way to practice. In fact, I don't think that is the condition for actual true growth. I think we need to have communities of varied minds. We need to have communities of people who challenge our sensibility, who challenge our patience and our tolerance, who really activate those parts of us where we feel tight and irritated and annoyed and messy. That is where we're going to grow. That is a powerful Sangha. So I am so grateful for everybody who brings their whole self to this practice. It inspires me deeply. And I mention this because we are here practicing, and anytime we do, we dedicate it. We dedicate what we've experienced here to the millions and millions of people out there who aren't even aware that such a practice exists. People who are shackled to their delusions, people who are suffering enormously, people in jail, people on the streets, people in hospitals in their cars, people isolating in their apartments. So we dedicate this practice for their ease, for their well-being. Compassion is a beautiful flower born of understanding. Your compassion is a beautiful flower born of your understanding. Maybe today you'll be able to give a bouquet of your compassionate flowers to somebody desperate to be understood. Have a beautiful day, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.